Hello and welcome to this pit stop for 878 Vikings Invasions of England, designed by Dave Kimmel and published by Academy Games. In Vikings, 2 to 4 players are going to spend about 2 hours taking two sides of conflict in 9th century England. One side being the Vikings, represented by two factions, the Berserker and the Norsemen, and the other side being the Housecarls and the Thanes, defending England from the invasion of the Vikings. The game is going to be played over a maximum of 7 rounds, with the Vikings attempting to take control of these city shires on the board to prevent the English from getting reinforcements and also to score points, with various win conditions being in play. Each round, the faction is going to take turns one at a time. We're going to draw a cube from the bag, which is going to randomise turn order each time, and then that faction is going to activate. The first thing any faction does of either side is reinforcements, which work slightly differently depending on which faction is working. In this case, for the Berserkers, they're the first Viking faction this turn, therefore they turn over a leader card, and Ivar the Bonus's army is going to come into play and invade from the North Sea coast. And Ivar is going to represent this horde of Vikings coming in to attack England. Also at this stage, if there are any fled Vikings of this particular faction not side, they will come back into the available pool. For the English, the reinforcements are not in one big wave like that, a big army. They appear in any unconquered city shires that are reinforcement spots that have not been taken out, such as Canterbury here. By taking this, the Vikings have prevented a little bit of reinforcement for the English side. Then, a player needs to play a movement card from their hand. Now, they all look quite similar. They tell you how many armies you can move on this turn, and they tell you how many spaces each of those armies can move. Now, leader armies are going to go first before regular armies take their actions. And leaders work slightly differently, only in that they can move, they can initiate battles, and if they win battles quickly, they can then move on again. So we could have Ivar here come in from the North Sea, move onwards. He's used 2 of his movement. If he gets rid of this English defensive force quickly, he could then move on and cause further trouble. Now, armies must stop when they come across enemies, and they must then cause a battle. If the English are defending, as well as the units which are present there, they get to draw one of these feared cards, and that will tell them how much of the local populace is rising up and helping out. In this case, it's the maximum 5, and those units will be added into that shire to take part in the battle. Defenders always roll first, and you take a number of dice up to the limit of the faction. Now, there are more over there, but we'll just see what these do. And when you roll them, there's one of 3 different results can come up. For every hit that you roll, you remove, or the other player removes, one of their units from that battle and it goes back into their pool. For a command, if there were any friendly forces adjacent to this, then the Housecarl could move one of his soldiers out of the battle and keep him safe for another day, but that's not possible this time. This is all or nothing. And for each flee result that's rolled, one of the units of that faction must go into the flee area. And once the defenders have done rolling, then the Vikings, the attackers, are going to roll. In this case, there are so many units, but again, they're limited on how many they can roll. And we're going to go through their hits and their flees and their commands, etc. Once one side has been wiped out, that's the end of the battle. If the Vikings have taken control of a city shire, they're going to mark that by one of these score markers. In this case, at Thetford, again, they're going to prevent reinforcements later on for the English. For Vikings to control an area, they must leave a presence behind them. As soon as a presence moves out for any reason, that score marker is gone and it reverts to being English, back to the loyal populace. Now, Vikings are very much led by the leaders. This deck is stacked. They will only come in from the North Sea or be reinforcements at the beginning up to round 4. For rounds 5, 6 and 7, they become more flexible and they can attack from any of the 4 coasts in the game. And in round 5, lots of things change in the game. For starters, Alfred comes into play. He's the only English leader in the whole game. That's the only way the English are going to have a flexible army to march across, similar to the rampaging Vikings. Also, the win conditions change somewhat. At any point at the end of a round, if the Vikings have controlled 14 or more city shires, that's an instant win. Or if the English have completely wiped them off the board and they control no city shires, even from round 1 onwards, that is an instant English win, but it doesn't seem that likely. From round 5 onwards, each player has got a special card in their deck of 12 cards called a Treaty of Wedmore card. If both Treaty of Wedmore cards have been played from one or other of the factions, we're going to check the normal win condition, which is, Do the Vikings control 9 or more city shires? If they do, then they've won. If they control fewer than that, then the English have won and the Treaty of Wedmore is signed. As well as these treaty cards and the movement cards, each of the different decks has got their own special action cards in there. There's a suggested setup within the box. There's also some variety there for deck building before the game once you become more familiar with it. For example, the Housecarls could cause a rebellion to happen in the Shire and have a load of these Feards raise up and fight the Vikings. The Thanes can improve their training and churn for a battle, change their flee rolls into hits, or we might have Viking Terror, and the Berserkers will prevent any of these Feared from uprising during one of their battles. Or perhaps the Norsemen are sowing Northumbrian discord and causing a bit of civil war up in the north there. However you choose to build your deck, however you choose to use your actions, however you choose to play it, eventually there's going to be a winner in 878 Vikings Invasions of England. This has been a Game Pit Stop. For more videos like this, please check out the Game Pit channel on YouTube. And for more in-depth coverage of gaming, please find the Game Pit podcast.